All right, so who's going to win the AFC West? I think I have an idea, but just to be safe, we're going to go through and predict the records of every team in the West the rest of the 2021 season right after. I gave you fair warning, beware. Smack him in the corner of the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. I gave you fair warning, beware. I'll smack him in the mouth. What is up, everyone? It's Sad Mike on the mic. Welcome into the Warzone Sports Network. I say I'm sad because if you do know, you know I'm a Chargers fan. And if you don't know, I'm a Chargers fan, and a huge hand with a freaking sprayed whipped cream all over it. Humble whipped cream at that just got smacked across my face. And a bunch of Raiders fans too, which makes it a little bit okay. But I like not to look left and right and try and look forward. And what forward says right now, it's not good. We'll just say that. It's not good. But anyways, I'm going to hop in here for the Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers. I'm going to predict the rest of the schedule and actually have a final prediction for who I think is going to win this division at the end of this video. I will say I'm going into this somewhat blind. I have an idea of who's going to win the division. But all of these teams still have a chance. The Broncos are a game and a half back of being in first, and they're in last in the division. So that just shows how close and how tight this race is going to be. Fortunately for the Chargers and the Raiders, they're right there still in the thick of things. The Chargers had the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. They did beat them earlier in the season, and they play them again later on in the season. Same thing with the Raiders. So let's get into predicting these records, but first, help me out and take the 2 seconds that it takes to go ahead and like this video first of all. That helps us out a ton in the algorithm. That'll make this video go out to more people so more people can like it and more people can subscribe and turn on notifications to the Warzone Sports Network. We're on the road to 2K. It's been a little bit over 6 months, and we're almost there. We're going to get there, I think, by the end of the football season. Thanks to you guys. I hope that it's not too bad and that the gardening going on outside, because the gardeners decide when I'm recording is the time to go ahead and start mowing the lawn. But I apologize if there's any audio coming through from outside into the microphone. Anyways, we got the Broncos pulled up here. They're 5-5 right now. They just got destroyed by the Philadelphia Eagles, and this Broncos team is just super inconsistent. And I think it comes from a place of not just the play calling, but definitely the play calling and the quarterback. I feel like the play calling is very limited with Teddy Bridgewater in the game. And I'll actually admit a little bit of wrong here. I thought that Teddy Bridgewater was going to be far and wide a better option than Drew Lock. I think the Broncos, if they lose one more game, they drop one more game, it will be really worth it for them to throw Drew Lock in there just one more time and give him one more chance to show some kind of improvement this entire time he's been sitting behind Bridgewater. Because with Bridgewater, it is a safe play, but it's not been the safe play so far this year. He's not playing very well. He's turning the ball over, and everything that you would put Teddy Bridgewater in for, we saw in the Cowboys game last week, but everything that you wouldn't put Teddy Bridgewater in for, we saw in the Eagles game this week. And that kind of inconsistency kind of spells the entire Broncos season, right? Get blown out by the Raiders. Get beat by the Browns with Case Keenum. But then you come and take down Washington football team. Then you dominate, destroy a really good Dallas Cowboys team, and then you get beat up by the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, so inconsistent, so hard to call when the Broncos are going to show up and be the team that started 3-0 or when they're going to show up and be the team that dropped 4 straight games in the middle of the season. But anyways, we're going to predict the rest of their record. This is kind of just a consolation. I don't think the Broncos are in this race. I think this is a 3-team race with most likely becoming a 2-team race. We'll see how the Raiders' schedule prediction goes. I'm going to try and be realistic, as I always am. Okay, sometimes I hate on the Raiders a little bit, admitted. You got me there. But I'm going to try and be realistic and really try and figure out who I think is going to win this division. It was the Chiefs at the beginning of the season, and let's see if it's still the Chiefs. So the Broncos have a bye week this week. Hallelujah for them. They kind of need it right now. This might be a time to go and switch to Drew Lock. I feel like the Broncos probably think that they're still in this race, only being down a game and a half. As you see, the record is down here at the bottom left. I can't really highlight it. There we go. It's right down there, 5-5. So as I update this chart, it's going to update down there below. After the bye week, my Los Angeles Chargers are heading to Denver to see the Denver Broncos. And this year, teams off of a bye have been struggling. But typically a team off of a bye playing at home against a team who's played 3 or 4 straight games, they got a little bit of an edge there. And it's in Denver. And the Broncos notoriously, no matter how bad they are, play the Chargers tough. And no bad.
Today, Junior?
And no matter how bad the Chargers are, they always play the Broncos tough. I think it's another tight game. Last year we saw a game end on the last play of the game. And I think it's kind of likely we see something similar in this game. I'm actually going to take Denver to win it. If you tell me Drew Lock's playing in the game, I may switch this pick to the Chargers. But if you tell me that Teddy Bridgewater has a week to prepare for this Bolts team, and the Chargers have a really tough Sunday night football game against that Pittsburgh Steelers defense, I think I'm going to take the Broncos to win it just by a very small margin. Like I said, I'm throwing my bias out the window. So if you're a Chargers fan and you came from the Chargers fan page, you came from the Mike on the Mike page, you came from TikTok because you want to see that Chargers love over here, I am going to predict the Chargers schedule, and I'm going to be real with myself because I really need to adjust my own expectations of what I expect this Chargers team to do this year. I need to go back to what my preseason objectives were. My preseason objectives were one, compete with the Chiefs. We already did that. Check. Boom. I should be happy about that. We beat them once already this year. 2, show improvement on this offensive line. Justin Herbert isn't going to go anywhere if we don't have a good offensive line. Boom. Hit the check mark. This offensive line is a little bit better than average right now and one more piece away from being a top 10 offensive line in my opinion. 3, get Brandon Staley that very, very, very needed experience coaching a team and going through adversity and winning games. And we've already won some big games. So I'm going to get a check mark there. The last thing I wanted was one playoff game. One playoff game is all I want. Not even a playoff victory. I just want Herbert to feel what it's like to play in a win or go home game. That's what I want him to feel like. That's very good experience for a second-year quarterback. Remember, he's in his second year. He's got about 15 to 20 more years left to go. So that's my little Chargers rant in the middle of the Broncos segment. I'm sorry, Broncos fan, because I'm going to have my entire Chargers prediction where I'm going to, my bad. Anyways, Broncos heading to Arrowhead. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The Chiefs found their offense a little bit this last week. I think that they pretty easily can handle the Broncos, especially that game in Arrowhead. But I think the Broncos respond and they take down Detroit. Detroit is just awful this year. They had a shot at a win this last week. The Steelers basically tried to hand it to them, and they still couldn't get it done, and they ended up tying. I don't think the Lions are going to win more than 2 games this year at the very max, if they even win a game. So give me the Broncos in this one. And then the Bengals heading to Denver. The Bengals are another team like the Chargers, like the Broncos, like the Raiders that started off so hot and gave us so much promise in the beginning of the season, but then you started to see the youth on these teams. You started to see a little bit of inconsistency on these teams. You also started to see the coaching question marks start to come out with the Raiders. Of course, losing John Gruden and going to an interim head coach. With the Broncos, Vic Fangio's been on the hot seat a little bit, in my opinion. I know Broncos fans kind of want a change, at least with the coordinators, but maybe even the head coach Outhaul as well. And the same thing with Zach Taylor and the Bengals has been pretty scrutinized. So these two teams, kind of similar stories to their season so far. I'm actually going to take the Broncos at home to beat the Bengals. We'll see if the Bengals can put it back together and get it going again. Joe Burrow is going to be an amazing quarterback in this league, and right now he's not quite there, but as far as the normal rookie quarterback and the normal young quarterback developing, he's a rookie last year, of course, got hurt, missed most of his season, and now is back this year, and he's playing very well and improved from what he was before he got hurt. His development normally is towards elite right now. Everyone will be talking about Joe Burrow if Justin Herbert wasn't already kind of there. And I think that one day that Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert are both going to be top 5 quarterbacks in this league as these other guys kind of age. But we'll see. I'm going to take the Broncos to win that game, though. Then you got to travel to Vegas in Week 16. Both these teams playing for their lives, especially if the Broncos are 7-6 at this point, and this will drop them to 8-7. I'm going to give it to the Raiders. And you got to travel again on the road to see the Los Angeles Chargers. So I'm going to give that one to the Chargers. I gave the Broncos the game earlier, a game that before I was racking up as a Chargers victory, put it on the board, as Joe Morley would say. But I think that the Chargers take them down at home, and they split this season like they did last year. I think at home the Chargers take it, and the Chargers have a kind of a weak part of their schedule right here too, so they might be a little bit red hot in Week 17. I hope they are at least. End up splitting the series between the Broncos and Chargers, and the Chargers win Week 17, dropping the Broncos to 8-8. And then you got to beat the Chiefs. I don't think that you're in playoff contention here, but I think the Chiefs are playing for playoff seeding. I think the Chiefs are playing possibly for the division in this last week. You got a team that needs to win to move up in playoff seeding or to win the division, and you got a team that needs to lose to move up in draft positioning. So we're going to give it to the Chiefs, and I got the Broncos finishing at 8-9, which is okay because my original prediction for the Broncos at the beginning of the season was 9-8, so kind of right on the money. I will point out the Broncos were 3-0, and they're taking care of business, and then I used the pick change jinx on them in week 4, and ever since it's just kind of fallen apart. Drop to the Steelers, drop to the Raiders, Browns, Eagles, bleh. Come on. All right, I got the Raiders' schedule pulled up. They're currently 3rd in the AFC West due to the tiebreaker to the Chargers because they lost to the Chargers earlier in the season. The Raiders are one of the more inconsistent teams in the league right now. Took down teams like the Ravens and the Steelers, both very solid teams, but then dropped games to like the Bears, to the Giants, and then, of course, the Chiefs just blew them out. In my personal opinion, and I am a Raider hater, famously, all over TikTok, you've probably seen me. I am a Raider hater. That's all fun and games, though. I just love talking smack. I love having fun with sports. When I lose, I love it when you guys come at me. And when I win, I like to go ahead and throw some at you. And it's all fun and games. That's what the rivalry is all about with the Raiders and the Chargers. And it's going to continue probably for the rest of my life. And I'm wearing Raiders colors right now as kind of like a little bit of a peace offering to let you guys know that I'm not going to be biased in this video. But I will say, out of the Chargers, out of the Broncos, and the Chiefs, I always viewed the Raiders as more of the pretenders than any of the other teams. But of course, recently the Broncos have shown that I was wrong about that. The Raiders are definitely on the level of possibly the Chargers, even though the Chargers blew them out earlier in the season. But they're at least not the worst team in the division. But I will say this, probably not going to finish strong, in my opinion. I think it's a long road for the Raiders. They lost their head coach in the middle of the season. They lost their number 1 receiver in the middle of the season, and it's just hard to survive that when you were already a young team before that even happened. You were already a young, inexperienced team. You have a few veterans sprinkled in there, but a lot of players that are either breaking out or trying to work on getting their footing in the league. I always had that realistic expectation of the Raiders. I had them going 5-12 to start the season. I'm not going to have them going 5-12 on this record prediction, but I just want to keep everything into perspective that I was right. I'm just kidding. Anyways, let's get into the schedule predictions here. They see the Bengals next week. It is at home. The Raiders are on a bad slide right now, and they're playing awful. I think the Bengals come into Las Vegas and beat them. The Bengals need a recovery week. They just had a bye week, so they have 2 weeks to prepare for this Raiders team. They just had a tough game against KC. I think this game will be very close. I think the Raiders are going to show a lot more fight than they showed against Kansas City, especially with the Bengals defense not quite being up to par. And neither is the Chiefs, but they came out and played on Sunday Night Football. The Bengals, Raiders, I think it's a close game. I'm going to give it to the Bengals, which would drop the Raiders to 500, which is a familiar sight for Raiders fans, starting 5-3 and then ending up 500 at the end of the year. Then they have to go to Dallas on Thanksgiving Day and see the Dallas Cowboys. I love this Cowboys team, and while they did drop that one random game to the Broncos, and that could happen again at any moment, it is the NFL, and especially this year, any given Sunday. But I think the Cowboys are one of the more complete teams in football right now, and this defense is getting better and better and better, and they're a few pieces away from legitimately competing for the NFC. And they're a few pieces away, and Tom Brady is going to retire at some point in his life, and I think Dak Prescott's going to outlive him. So once Tom Brady retires, Aaron Rodgers moves out of Green Bay or retires, the Cowboys and the Rams are probably going to be competing from like that 2023, 2024, 2025 time range, and another team might emerge. But I think that those two teams have a legitimate Super Bowl window in the next 5 years, which is interesting because Cowboys last year did not have that kind of an outlook. I'm a big Dak Prescott fan. So I'm always rooting for the Cowboys. I'm a fan of Dak Prescott's game second, but I'm a fan of Dak Prescott's character first, man. I just love watching documentaries and hearing his story and watching him go out there and succeed every single week almost. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I think he's locked himself in this year so far as a top 10 guy for a while. Washington football team, this is where the Raiders finally get it together and get a dub. This will be 4 straight losses after starting 5-3, and then they get the win here, and they take down the Washington football team. I just don't think the Washington football team is that good, to be honest. They did beat the Buccaneers this week. It's a little bit of a trap game, especially coming off of a bye week like that. We've seen teams kind of start slow after a bye week. I don't believe in Washington because they beat the Buccaneers. It happens. It happens in the NFL. The Jets beat teams this year. The Jaguars beat the Bills. I mean, it happens. Then they get their rematch in Arrowhead. I'm going to give this to KC, giving KC a sweep on the season. If the Raiders were going to beat them, they were going to beat them in Vegas. The Chiefs are very tough to go into Arrowhead and beat. I mean, the Chargers, for example, played a damn near perfect game against Kansas City earlier in the season. I think it was week 4. And they still were holding their breaths, hoping the defense can stop them one last time at the end of the game. So I think that that's a tough win for the Raiders, especially, you know, on a slide like this. I think that they're going to go on over the next couple of weeks. It's going to continue from the past weeks over the next couple of weeks. And the Chiefs kind of found their groove against the Raiders, like I was saying. So maybe they go on a little bit of a hot streak themselves. Chiefs, again, they know they're going to need every single game the rest of the way for seeding and to win this division. Browns, Raiders, who knows on this game? It just depends on what the Browns look like injury-wise by then. I am going to go ahead and take the Raiders to win this game. I don't have very much faith in the Browns, and I can see this being a little bit of a shot game this week with the Raiders being 6-7 going into this. The Browns might be a little bit better than that. But we're just seeing the roller coaster of the Browns, kind of like the Raiders, like the Chargers. Can't really put it all together multiple weeks in a row. I think the Browns might be in danger to completely miss the playoffs this year. Broncos traveling on the road to play Las Vegas and coming off of a victory to the Browns. I did give this game to the Raiders in the Broncos record prediction, so I'm going to give it to the Raiders here, and we're going to give the Raiders a victory in Week 16, bringing them to 8-7, and maybe they're in the race here depending on how the Chiefs play at this portion of the season. This is one good team step up and start playing well. Going to Indy to see the Colts. I think the Raiders lose that game. I think they dropped that one. The Colts are a sneaky good team. They're way better than their record suggests, and I think they lose to the Chargers in Week 18. The Chargers probably playing for a playoff spot in Week 18. The Raiders will be 8-8, and this is going to drop them to 8-9 if it all comes to fruition. So I don't think they'll be playing for a playoff spot in the AFC. It's going to take 9 or 10 wins to get in at a very minimum. Maybe the Raiders are playing for a playoff spot if the tiebreaker is between the Chargers and the Raiders. That's the only scenario that I see it happening here in Week 18 with a spot to go to the playoffs. But I'm going to take the Chargers to win in Week 18, dropping the Raiders to 8-9, tied with the Broncos for last in the division. Or it could be tied for third if you want to say a positive twist on it. All right, now we got my bolts. I'm going to try, like I said, to be as unbiased as I possibly can. I've already got the loss to the Broncos that I predicted earlier in the video. I've got the victories to the Broncos in 17, and I got the victory to the Raiders in 18 already counted up. So you see down here, the record is 7-5 as of right now. Chargers dropped the game to the Vikings. That really cemented home that this team's super inconsistent. There are some issues with this team, and I think that they're far from perfect. They're far from perfect. So they could drop games that I thought we were going to win originally. I mean, if you go and look at some of the videos that I was putting out or on these streams or in these talks, I was talking about the Chargers finishing with like a 12 or 13 win record, because the hard part of our schedule was over and we came out of it like 4-1 and 4-2 after the Ravens game, which was very promising compared to what I expected at the beginning of the season with the first-year head coach and a second-year quarterback. And like I said, a very young defense that I expected to be inconsistent. I didn't expect them to be this bad against the run, though. I felt like our linebackers were coming into their own with Drew Tranquil, Kenneth Murray, Kaiser White, all these guys, and they just are not filling the gaps the right way. And it's also partially due to the defensive line. We saw a little bit closer to full strength. We saw Kenneth Murray. We saw Justin Jones out there, and they actually slowed down one of the better run games in the league. But will that consistently continue? We're going to find out against the Steelers. But that's the key to the game. If we can stop Najee Harris, I think the Chargers win this easily. Even if they slow him, even if they hold him to 90 yards on 22 carries and no touchdowns, the Chargers are winning this game. I trust the offense to put up more than 16 points. The Steelers have been kind of winning these barn burner games where it's like 21-17, 17-14. 14-10. I think the Chargers can still put up 21, 24, even possibly 28 points on the Steelers defense. They got the power on offense, and it just seems that every time Justin Herbert sees the primetime lights, this is a Sunday Night Football game, he rises to the occasion. I take him to rise to the occasion here. Then, of course, I already got the Broncos beating us in Week 12, and I'm actually going to have the Bengals beating us as well in Week 13. A little bit of a back-to-back slide going into Cincinnati. Get shocked by the Bengals. I think the game's close. I gave the loss to the Raiders when they played the Bengals, which would mean the Bengals might make the playoffs still. I just think the way these teams are and how they've been up and down, I expect them to lose a random game like this, and the Bengals are the one that I think that the Chargers would lose. Maybe you could say the Giants. The Giants are a little bit scary. They're a little bit better than their record suggests. And Daniel Jones, when he plays good, can put together really good games. Same old, don't take that as a compliment to Daniel Jones. I still want him out of there. I'm going to take the Chargers to win this game in Week 14, especially at home in Los Angeles. And then they get KC at home in Los Angeles, and call me biased, but I think that they always play Kansas City tough, even when we're outmatched by a mile. Got Kansas City coming into LA. The Chargers know the importance of this game. The Kansas City Chiefs know the importance of this game. We'll see how hot the Chiefs can get after that 40+ 6-point victory, but as you're going to see in my Chiefs record prediction, I don't know how hot they're going to stay. I'm going to take the Chargers back-to-back weeks at home, taking down the Giants and the Chiefs, and sweeping the Chiefs this year. Remember, I said earlier that the expectation was to compete with the Chiefs. Sweeping the Chiefs this year, big deal. And then, of course, I'm going to have the Chargers beating the Texans. I don't think there's any chance we lose that game unless something terrible happens and we're playing with Easton Stick or Chase Daniels. But knock on wood on that one. And that would put the Chargers' overall record at 11-6, which is what I predicted. The exact record I predicted for the Chargers when I went through the schedule at the beginning of the season, and we would be in the playoffs. And the way it's shaked out is saying that we're going to play the Bengals, but just ignore that. 11-6 is my final record prediction. Rest of the way for the Los Angeles Chargers. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of all of these record predictions, of course. All right, let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs. You see, it's already marked up. We got their victory over the Broncos that already counted up for the Chiefs. They got their victory over the Raiders that already counted up for the Chiefs in Week 14. The loss to the Chargers after winning back-to-back games. That's up after Week 15. And the victory in Week 18 to the Denver Broncos. This Week 19 is just a projected thing by this website. Just ignore that. That's what the playoff would be as of right now. It's going to change every time I click a new team. They see the Cowboys at home this weekend. And like I was saying about the Cowboys, I think they're legit, man. And I still think that there is some inconsistencies on the Chiefs. And I'm not believing in this defense because they shut down a Raiders team that Deshaun Jackson was basically handing the defense the ball. So give me the Cowboys to go into Arrowhead and to kind of put a little bit of water on this hot streak that the Chiefs have started here with beating the Packers, beating the Giants, and beating the Raiders 3 straight games. They were 4-1 in their last 5. So the Chiefs are actually on a hot streak. I think the Cowboys put it out here on this week. It's a good timing for the Chiefs to drop a loss because they got some important games coming up after the bye week so they can really focus in. They beat the Broncos in Week 13. Beat the Raiders in Week 14, and then again, cool off the hot streak. I don't think this Chiefs team is that dominant in previous years, and they just put together back-to-back victories versus tough teams. Back-to-back. They have 3 straight games against division rivals, which is super tough. Anyone that watches the NFL knows that it is very unlikely that they beat all 3 of these teams 3 in a row. I think that they're more likely to drop it to the Raiders than the Broncos if I was going to choose another team and say that they were going to beat the Chargers. But I'm going to go with my Chargers. I believe in them to take down Kansas City and complete a sweep of the Chiefs. Then we got the Steelers going to Kansas City, and this could be a toss-up. The Steelers could walk in and shock the Chiefs, but I'm going to take the Chiefs to win again. And again, similar reasons that why I think the Steelers are going to finish slow, and that's because this offense is going to get worse and worse as they go on. I think that the longer the season goes on, the worse Big Ben's going to get, the more fatigue is going to be put on that arm, and it's just going to get tougher and tougher. I know he missed the week because of COVID. That might be a little bit of a blessing in disguise because he had to throw 30 less passes. So I'm really worried about Big Ben towards the end of this year and how bad it's going to look. I think this Chiefs team, in order to win games, is going to need to hold every opponent under 20. If you see tough offenses, that's just so hard to do down the stretch late in the season like this. Give me the Chiefs to beat the Bengals. I know I've been saying the Bengals have been beating some teams. I think that the Chiefs rise to the occasion and take down Cincy in Week 17, which will put the Chiefs' final record also at 11-6. But because the Chargers beat them both times around, and the Chargers are going to have the division record tiebreaker, the Chiefs come in second in the AFC West and get the wild card spot. Obviously, it's probably not going to shake out exactly how I expect it, so we'll see how it goes. But I think for the Chargers and for the Chiefs, these are the 2 teams that I think have the best chance of still making the playoffs out of the AFC West. I think unless, like I said, something catastrophic happens, the Chargers win 10 games at a very minimum. I think unless something catastrophic happens, the Chiefs win 10 games at a very, very minimum, which for the Broncos and Raiders, I feel like is their ceiling if they really turn it on and fix whatever's going on there and start playing really hot. That's the AFC West record predictions. The rest of the way, I got the Chargers winning the division via tiebreaker by beating the Raiders in Week 18. Imagine if the Raiders spoil our hopes to win the division that week. That would be very, 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 very painful for me to live through as a Chargers fan. But I really do think it could come down to that final week. Chiefs play the Broncos, Raiders and Chargers. And if it's between the Raiders and the Chargers to win the division, that could be interesting. But I really think it's going to be between the Chiefs and the Chargers to win the division in Week 18. Chiefs got to beat the Broncos. Chargers got to beat the Raiders. And let's see what happens. Division AFC West is so competitive and it's so tough. And you never know what's going to happen when these teams line up from each other, especially as of late. And then I got the Raiders finishing in 3rd at 8 and 9, and I got the Broncos finishing in 4th at 8 and 9 as well. What a division, and all these teams are just a few pieces away, I think, from competing for a Super Bowl. Thanks for tuning in to this AFC West prediction. I hope it wasn't too lengthy. I'm going to be going over some more divisions that are kind of tight and see how they turn out in the long run. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please turn on notifications and stay tuned in. We post so many videos all week long. It's all coming. Don't you worry. And we're live for every single primetime game that we can possibly be live for. I'm Mike, and I'm the mic on the whoa. I need more coffee. I'm Mike, and I'm on the mic, and this is me saying until next time.